The likelihood of no Darryn Peterson tonight for Kansas puts a bit of a damper on the Champions Classic, but it's going to be electric.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, happy Tuesday, what's up? Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only daily national college hoop show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your college basketball content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, by the way, the number one sports podcast network in the entire galaxy, the entire Milky Way. We're here for it. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch of the day. Special shout out to all the everydayers who are here with us and all the members of the Locked On College Basketball Discord community as well. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Download it and get started today. Oh, baby, we are in for a treat today, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We have a Champions Classic roundtable joined by the hosts of all four participant schools. And I've even got them divided up on screen on YouTube if you're watching by breakdown of games. So up in the top left corner on YouTube is Mr. Lance Dawe, the great host of Locked On Kentucky. Beneath him, only on the show, not necessarily in the game this evening. I'm making no statements there. Mr. Matt Sheehan, the great host of Locked On Michigan State. Go Sparty. Up in the top right corner, Derek Johnson from Locked On Jayhawks. And down in the bottom right, Mr. JJ Jackson from Locked On BD, Locked On Blue Devils. Everybody's rocking their sponsored hats because we are dudes.
That's right.
Here's where we're headed today. We're going to start with some big picture conversations about this event, the history. I didn't tell these guys, but I got a trivia question for them.
Uh-oh.
And then we're going to go game by game in segments 2 and 3. We're just going to take them in chronological order. So we're going to start with the Michigan State Kentucky game, and then we'll wrap it all up with, I almost said Kentucky again, with Kansas and Duke on the back end. Fellas, great to have you all. We got to start with Derek Johnson because the big speculation, while I know we've got some injury stuff with Jaland Lowe and Kentucky, everybody wants to see a guy that's going to be a top 3 pick in the draft, Darryn Peterson. But Derek Johnson, if we're to believe Bill Self, which he don't typically lie, it sounds like we're not going to see Darryn Peterson. My question to you, what is the % chance that we're going to get a Peterson-Boozer matchup tonight?
It's not high in my opinion, 5%, which is unfortunate, right? I mean, there were certainly some dampening comments from Bill Self after the Princeton game. It just feels like the more this has become a thing, like it just feels like it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't know. They just posted some like social media clips, did KU over the last like 24 hours of like the team, getting on the plane and those sort of fun things. No pictures, no videos of Darryn Peterson among all the things that they posted. Now, the 5% that I have out there, is there any chance this is just some hilarious ploy to make Duke not prepare for Darryn Peterson?
That's right.
I guarantee you, John Shire is not going to get fooled by any bit of that, right, JJ?
Wait,
they're
who's that
ready
guy?
for whatever's going to happen.
Yeah, he's going to be – I mean, I'm right there with Derek, though. My favorite thing to do is to airplane monitor, like, who's getting on the flights, who are they spotlighting as these college players are heading and traveling to the game. So, I want all the shoot-around content going into game day that we can have here for this one. So, but it would be an absolute bummer if we don't get Darryn Peterson and Cameron Boozer going head-to-head.
Absolutely. And Derek, just to make sure everyone knows, there had been the cramping stuff earlier, but this specifically is a hammy. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they're actually saying now that the cramping was related to the hammy, and then it kind of flared up in the Carolina game. Obviously, it didn't impact, that game was out of reach at that point anyway. And this is kind of something where they're viewing it as, they want the long term. And Darryn Peterson actually has like a YouTube page, and he releases just an episode the other day, and he said, everybody's kind of reading into this probably too much, but he's like, our goal's still there. We still want to win a conference championship and a national championship. And now everybody's taking that as, he's not going to come back to conference play, which that might be a little bit extreme, but it certainly feels like there's a lot of tinfoil hats going around right now with the magnitude of Darryn Peterson being hurt.
All right. So tonight, the 15th edition of this event. I can't believe it's been a decade and a half.
Yeah.
It's going to be in MSG, the 5th time it's been in the greatest arena in the entire world. Number 17, Michigan State. Number 12, Kentucky, 6:30 Eastern to tip it off. Kentucky favored as we record this on Monday evening by 5.5. Then the nightcap, number 5, Duke, number 24, Kansas, 9 Eastern. That'll be Duke favored. It started, the first I saw was 7.5. As we record, it's currently 10.5 at FanDuel. You guys, I mentioned it. I got a trivia question for you. We're talking records in this event. Which of your quartet of schools do you think has the best record? I don't want you all to answer at once. I want you all to think of your answer, and then we're going to go around and get everybody's answer. Who has the best record? They've all played all 14 years in it. Lance Dawe, I want to start with you. Who has the best record in your guess?
So just to be clear, it's not total number of wins. It's just best record overall.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure Kentucky's won it 10 times.
Okay.
Is that I might be wrong on that. Is that
I'm
enough?
not going to tell you the answer yet because everybody's going to guess.
You know, this might be arrogant to say out of the gate. I'll just say Kentucky.
Okay.
I'll say the Cats, even though I don't feel great about it.
Okay, I love it. Sheehan, let's go to you. Who do you think's the most wins?
That guy right there, the other strapping gentleman in the white hat right now, JJ's Duke Blue Devils, is my guess. I say that with about 65% confidence. So
okay,
coming out of the
JJ,
gate strong.
I love it. JJ, what do you think?
Isaac, like Lance, I am all for arrogance, and I do think that it's the team out of Durham. I would guess Duke to answer this one.
All right, and DJ, what about you? What's your answer?
I don't know that this is a good guess with picking Kansas because the first few years they were in it, they lost a lot. Like they lost to the Anthony Davis Kentucky team and stuff. But actually lately they've been really good. Like they beat Duke in Madison Square Garden in 2016. They lost to Duke though in 2020. They beat Michigan State the last couple of I'll do it. I'll do Kansas.
One of you is correct, and his name is Derek Johnson. The Kansas Jayhawks.
Yeah.
9-5 in this event.
Well done.
Yeah, I think a majority of those losses the first couple of years, right?
Yes, exactly. And I'm not going to tell you guys the rest yet because we're going to go to the other bookend. Which of these 4 teams, you already can cancel one of them out, which of these 4 teams has the fewest wins in this event? Let's go in reverse order this time. Derek, you're up first.
I mean, I feel like I've seen Michigan State win so many of these upset games. Like I saw Denzel Valentine rip my heart out against Kansas in what, 2015, and they've upset Kentucky. Yeah. I almost feel like that has to be the pick though. But there's no way it's Kentucky, right? Is it Kentucky?
I'm not going to tell you until everybody's
going to go with Wildcats. I'm going to go surprise pick Wildcats.
Okay, lock it in. Kentucky. JJ.
I know it's not Duke, and that's what matters here to me. I will.
It's like when you're running away from the bear, you don't have to be the fastest. You just can't be last.
I'm going to go back to my fellow white hat gentlemen and the Michigan State Spartans.
All right. So JJ's logging Sparty. Matt Sheehan, what do you think?
I here, silly me. I thought that hopping on a college basketball show, I'd be able to actually like smile, have a good time. Chop it up. We've left football in the rearview mirror. Let's talk round ball, baby. This is going to be good. But I think the answer is unfortunately Michigan State. I'm almost positive on it, actually.
All right, Lance, what about you?
Yeah, I was about to say, the more I think about it, Kentucky, no, they don't have double-digit wins in this. There's no way they've gone 10-4. I didn't realize it was just 14 matchups. It's either Kentucky or Sparty. I'm going to say Sparty, but I don't think it's like a wide margin, actually, the more I think about it. Because Kentucky, like prior to last year's win over Duke, I believe that was this Champions Classic. They hadn't won since like 2019, right? I'm trying to think. So it's either Kentucky or Sparty. I'll say Sparty.
It is Sparty. Michigan State has won 5 of their 14 matchups, 5 or 9. Kentucky next worst at 6-8. Duke best at 8-6, and then Kansas 9-5. Good job, fellas. That's fun. Thanks for indulging me. I love a good trivia moment. So you guys
that was fun. I had a great time.
Okay, I want to roundtable this question for you, and I want everyone's answer on it. You don't have to get long-winded, but like for each of your teams, you've each played one high major. All of them except Duke has played a ranked opponent, but let's be honest, Duke played Texas, who's very close to that cusp. So I want to know from each of you, what are you expecting to learn about your team tonight? Win, lose, whatever it is. What do you hope to take away from this experience? Lance, let's go to you, and we're just going to go counterclockwise. So Sheehan, you're up next.
I'll go with two things here real quick. First and foremost, how Kentucky handles physicality. That was the big question last year as to whether or not they could handle the brutality of the SEC slate. And turns out defensively, they really struggled against some of the more physical teams in the league. And so far, it looks like the defense is much improved. But this Michigan State team, and Matt could probably talk a little bit about this more at length, but this is a very physical, really strong, tall Sparty team that I think will give Kentucky some problems. Absolutely. So can you be more physical? And then also just what does the show look like without Jaland Lowe against a quality opponent? It's going to be the first time we've seen that this season. Obviously the game against Purdue didn't count in the exhibition. We're going to get to see some actual data that for Mark Pope to collect, as he likes to say. How will Aberdeen, Jasper, the collection of guards Kentucky has, how will they handle this Sparty team? That is the other question I have. I'm looking to learn both those things.
All right. Matt Sheehan, what about you? JJ, you're on deck. DJ, you're in the hole.
We need clarity on life after Jace Richardson, and that was the freshman phenom that really came along very strong at the end of last season. That was our guy. Hey, late in the game, we need a bucket. Start to Jace. He's going to be our 3-level scorer. He's going to do all things. He's going to make 3-point shots. And look, Michigan State off to a fine start this season, 3-0. They're rebounding really well. Their defense, just like you said, Lance, it's very physical. We assist the ball. We're so good at sharing here in East Lansing. But my God, us five collectively can shoot the 3-point ball better than Michigan State can this year so far. Like, it's not ideal. We need a 3-point shooter ever since Jace has left. And also, hey, that was a really fun win that you had against Arkansas. Your last field goal of the game came with 6 minutes and 5 seconds left. You can't just be praying for the bell every single night. I know it sounds cliche, it sounds lazy, but like, you need to establish who's going to get you that bucket guy late in the game. And not to say I want to see a close game here. I would love to see Michigan State win by 50 every game. But like, this would be a really good opportunity to get some answers here in what has been a house of horrors for Michigan State. I hate Madison Square Garden. I have no good memories of watching my team play here. So life after Jace.
I've been scared of it ever since Godzilla laid all those eggs in it in that one with the Jimmy Page Puff Daddy song. Yeah, so there's that. JJ, what are you going to learn about the Blue Devils tonight?
Well, I mean, Madison Square Garden is also known as Cameron North, so I'm hoping that we learn really nice things about this Duke basketball team. Last season's team that goes 35-4, goes all the way to the Final Four, guys, only played in one possession games when they ended up losing. Every game outside of that, with Cooper Flagg and the entire starting five being drafted, Duke was winning decidedly. I am so curious, this year's version of the Blue Devils, how do they handle these late game situations, these close games that play out? It was last year's Champions Classic matchup with Kentucky where we saw Cooper Flagg miss some shots down the stretch. And so, those big games, those big moments, how does this version of John Shire and Duke handle those tight games?
I love it. Derek, what about for you?
I just want to know about this supporting cast. That is the one kind of, optimistic view, if you don't have Darryn Peterson, is the idea that we don't really know how good this supporting cast is. And so in a certain sense, there's a little less pressure on you to actually win the game without Peterson. That doesn't mean, you still don't want to, but there's a world where if Duke wins this game by 5 points or 6 points or 4, whatever, it's a 1 possession game, it's close to the end, and you don't have Peterson, that Kansas fans can actually walk away from this being like, I actually was kind of impressed with the other guys. And once they get Peterson back, maybe we got something here.
Man, going to be very interesting to see. All right, it's time to get ready for these games. We're going to start with the first game of the night. We got Sparty. We got Big Blue Nation. How's it going to play out? We're going to talk with Lance and Matt about that, but Derek and JJ aren't going anywhere. They're going to help me rile these guys up and see if we can get them arguing back and forth. All coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, you guys, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game, or maybe you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything, from who's going to score next to who's going to make that fourth quarter comeback, which is part of every NBA basketball game, if we're being honest. Plus, you can even combine all those live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout. All of this keeps every game exciting because you got something extra riding on the game, and you want to see it come to fruition. We said it earlier, but Kentucky right now favored by 5.5 over Michigan State. Duke by 10.5 over Kansas as the Darryn Peterson speculation continues to rise. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers just like you $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game only with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks so much for making Locked On College Basketball your first listen of the day, along with Locked On Kentucky, Locked On Spartans, Locked On Blue Devils, Locked On Jayhawks, all these great shows. Make sure to go check them out in advance of tonight's game and throughout the season. And oh, by the way, thank you also for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network there is. All right, we said it earlier, Michigan State, Kentucky, tipping things off tonight, 6:30 Eastern. Kentucky right now favored by 5.5. I want to ask these guys the biggest storyline to watch for as far as they're concerned. Let's start with Matt, because we started with Lance on the earlier segment. Sheehan, for you and Sparty, sure. What specifically do you think is the biggest thing that we need to pay attention to in this game?
Yeah, I hate to keep hammering this home, but okay, so something that's been a negative for Michigan State has been the shooting, like I just said. They're shooting at 21% so far, and that's also matched with the 67% free throw shooting, and I wouldn't keep talking about it over and over again if our head coach wasn't doing the same exact thing. I mean, it has been just horrible shakes. After the San Jose State game, which they won with no problem, he said, we're getting in the gym 7:30 in the morning. He harkened back to a story where former Spartan Bryn Forbes, he shot so many free throws out of practice, they had to bandage his fingertips because he was getting blisters. And Tom Izzo was not smiling. He was not doing a bit when he was saying that story. He genuinely wants to see that with his team. So I don't know how many bandages are going to be left on the floor at Madison Square Garden, but these boys better come ready to shoot some free throws. And don't threaten me with a good time. Also make a three-point shot. But on a positive, rebounding. I mean, that's been the calling card last year. It was a calling card against Arkansas. It's going to have to be the calling card again. So those are the two storylines for Spartyland over here.
I love that. Lance, what about the other side of it for you? Obviously mentioned Jaland Lowe earlier. Still no Jaden Quaintance. Amongst whatever you're going to say, I'd love to hear your thought about how Kentucky is going to finish defensive possessions by keeping Sparty off the offensive glass.
Yeah, again, I do think, like you mentioned, the biggest storyline here is whether or not Kentucky can play consistently on offense without their true offensive engine. Best ball handler on the floor, might not be the best shooter, but definitely the guy that kind of runs everything in Jaland Lowe. Aberdeen has played well whenever he's been asked to step up. He did so at Florida last year, and just about every single time they asked him to perform, whenever he had to start, whenever he had to come off the bench, whenever Clayton or Martin were injured or not being consistent, he was the guy that kind of stepped up. Can he do it again after playing really well at Louisville? I'm not quite sure. Again, really physical Sparty team that I think is going to bog Kentucky down on offense. It's just the question of whether or not you can maintain some of that flow, some of that consistency without your one true lead guard. And then also, like you mentioned, trying to, hold Michigan State here on the glass, trying to protect the rim. Kentucky last year was one of the worst defenses in the country when it came to 2-point field goal percentage. Right now, sitting at number 24 in the nation, less than 42%. They're also top 10 in offensive rebound percentage on defense. So definitely improved in those two areas. And I think, again, or I should say, that is kind of probably where this game is going to be won and lost, whether or not Michigan State can impose their will, or if Kentucky really has improved in those two metrics enough to make this a difficult game for Tom Izzo and the Spartans. I also will note, Matt mentioned this about how they're just kind of doing the same thing over and over and over. It was the first thing I put in my notes whenever I'm going to do my preview episode of this game. It's the fact that this Michigan State team has a very throwback feel to it, just with the way that they played that Arkansas matchup. You're getting to the rim. The spacing's a little wonky. The sets are incredible because Izzo's been really good at that for quite some time. But you can't hit threes, and you also give up maybe some stuff in transition. I will say, actually, the most interesting stat that I've found about Michigan State is the fact that they play with a pretty slow pace. It's like bottom third in the country, according to KenPom. But they also, right now, if I'm not mistaken, are tied 38th in the country with a team like Alabama in fast break points per game. They're averaging almost 20 a night. So I do find this Sparty team really interesting.
We are a fascinating bunch. I mean, because I just had this conversation with John Neighbors of Locked On Razorbacks. He said it doesn't seem like you guys are built for a comeback team. It's like, on paper, of course not. We can't shoot threes, but I mean, no, transition, the defense, the rebounding. Oddly enough, it's an unorthodox way, but we still do get it done against all odds here. So it is straight Tom Izzo ball from the early 2000s. blood on the court, teeth everywhere. So it's a good little blast of the past here we've been enjoying.
I want to ask you both, fellas. We'll start with Matt again. Tell me who you think. Two things here. The most important player for your team, specifically for this game, not necessarily season long, the most important player for Michigan State against Kentucky and vice versa, and fill in the blank. Michigan State wins if, and Lance, for you, Kentucky wins if. Sheehan, you go first.
I've changed my mind on the most important player like 27 times in the last 4 hours. But I'm going to net out on Jackson Kohler here. One of the best, if not the best, rebounder in the Big Ten last year, if you just want to go off percentages. I mean, this guy was dynamite on the glass against San Jose State, which, yes, I understand there might be a little bit of a talent gap between San Jose State and Kentucky, but still, he almost grabbed as many rebounds as the entire San Jose State team last week. And this is what you're also going to need from him. Stretch the floor a little bit. He's kind of this three-point threat, showed a little bit last year. Kind of a tough-ish start to the season in that regard, but he's got to finish better at the rim than he has been so far this year. But also, if you could stretch this out to 15, or dare I say even beyond the arc, oh, God, like, don't threaten me with a good time. And Michigan State wins this game, yeah, if they rebound. I mean, that was the name of the game with Arkansas. I see a lot of similarities with how these rosters are built between Kentucky and Arkansas as far as the length goes. So it was physically imposing. Michigan State, they were able to generate so many offensive boards. That was the reason they got to that win. So that's what I'm going with here, Isaac.
It's wild to think that Arkansas and Kentucky are somehow built the same. That's weird.
I think that's the only way that they even share a similarity, I think. That has to be it. It's just
there's nothing else there. No.
Lance Dawe, most important player for the Wildcats in this game specifically, and Kentucky wins if.
Yeah, I actually have been pretty dead set on the player that we need to perform really well in this game, and that's Otega Oweh. Off to what I think is a pitiful start to the season. Coughed up the ball 5 times against Louisville, a couple of times in some really crucial spots. Yeah. Oweh, with his physicality, with his slashing, with his ability to finish at the rim, he's got to be able to go in there and say, okay, Sparty, you're really good at all these really tough guy things, throwback type ball. Well, we're going to try and inflict that a little bit with what was our best player from a season ago. He's got to be able to step it up and play with a little bit of an edge like he did a year ago. I'm not too big into reading into body language and how that maybe could affect a game while it's happening. Whatever's going on with Otega, though, I think it is interesting to monitor. He just doesn't seem like he's all that energetic compared to last season. So he's got to be there mentally, he's got to be there physically, and he's got to be able to go out there and get some clutch buckets for this squad. And I'll say Kentucky wins the game if. I really like the take on rebounding. I'll say something different just for the sake of it. I think Kentucky's got to take care of the basketball and try and inflict some turnovers on Sparty as well. Michigan State, bottom 3rd in the country in turnover rate so far. You got to see that Arkansas game. Get your hand in there on some drives. You could swat some balls away, get out in transition, leads to easy buckets. Also, I think that Kentucky, really bad job of taking care of the ball against Louisville. That might have been what lost them the game, basically, against the Cardinals. If you can take care of the ball yourself and maybe get some points back on the other end, at maybe where you find yourself separating, the Cats separating themselves in what I think is going to be a really close game.
All right, going to be a fun one to start the night. Let's get predictions from everybody here. JJ Jackson, let's start with you, my friend. This game is Kentucky by 5.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the opposite direction then. I'm favoring a Sparty party in Madison Square Garden. I just think, I think the injuries that we've talked about from Jaland Lowe and Jaden Quaintance on the Kentucky side of things, and I was just convinced. I thought Sheehan did a remarkable job presenting the case. I was kind of on the fence here, but yeah, I'm going to lean Michigan State. The fact that the numbers haven't been in their favor all time in the Champions Classic, this could be the year that starts to turn around for Michigan State.
That's right. I like this JJ guy. Wow, I like that. Wow, great to meet you, man.
That like closing arguments, and you and Derek are the jury. We're doing that in the next segment when we flip this. Way to go, Derek Johnson. What about you?
See, now I don't feel great about this. I'm taking Michigan State as well. And part of it is good.
This is not good, actually. Hold on.
Part of it is from a betting perspective. So you can get Michigan State on FanDuel at over 2-1 odds. I just think the value is there. Like if you're giving me even odds, sure, maybe I'm taking Kentucky. But given the 2-1 aspect with the Kentucky injuries, I go back to that Mark Pope press conference he just had where it just seemed like he was lost in what to do with this early part of the season. And you're facing a team now who wants to come in and smack you in the mouth. So I'm going to actually take the Spartans upset as well.
Okay. And straight up, you're saying not just against the spread, Derek?
Yep. Straight up.
Wowzers. Yep. I will go ahead. Since y'all have both said it, I was on BetMGM Send It In earlier on Monday, and I went Sparty straight up, just like you guys did. This is crazy.
Wow.
Oh, it's getting
I
too
don't know
real.
what's
Oh
happening
god.
here. This is bunkers. And here's the other problem, fellas. Big Blue Nation's about to come for our heads, and it's going to be bad. Matt Sheehan, what say you on this prediction?
Like, it was fun when JJ
Judd.
did it. Like, it's fun when like one guy does it, but like, okay, well, if I'm about to be the fourth person because Locked On Spartans listeners know this. I don't do this all the time with Michigan State games. Like, no one in Spartyland picks against the Spartans more than I do. But, oh my God. I think this will be like a drag them out to the swamp, and let's see that who's going to come out in this grimy, sludgy game here. I think it's going to be
This game's in Gainesville? Did you just say this?
Oh man, from one great football town to another, it's into Gainesville. I think it's going to be a grimy game. I think Michigan State, it's going to be like a race to 70 points sort of game. I think it's going to be Spartans 72, Kentucky 68, and I get on Locked On Spartans talking crazy on Tuesday night, talking Final Fours, national championship. I will be delirious because I need a reason to be lately, guys.
All right, Lance, we are clearly all wacky and crazy. Please help
this
us
is
straight
crazy.
here.
Yeah, this is bad. I think my listeners would probably try and find where I'm at and kill me if I picked against Kentucky. So I'm going to pick Kentucky. I mean, I would have picked them regardless. But look, if Kentucky fails to score 70 in this game, I'm not going to do it, but somebody's probably going to burn Rupp down because this is a team that has, without multiple starters, even in the back half of SEC play against some really good defenses, found a way to drop 80 without really thinking about it. And I think that's mostly to do with what Mark Pope is doing X's and O's wise. I think Derek made a good point. I think it's something that you have to think about. Where is this team mentally, especially after their head coach is coming out in public after 46-point wins and saying, we just kind of suck at various things, man. Like, our guys that I wanted to be good, they're just not that good. So there needs to be some sort of response here. I can completely understand taking Michigan State here and saying, well, mentally they're not there. Physically, we question some of the things that they're doing without especially Jaden Quaintance in this equation. So I think that Kentucky, though, is just simply too good across the board on offense. And something that we may be forgetting here is that while Michigan State is really, really good at the rim, Kentucky calmly shooting just 66.2% from inside the arc through 3 games. And that was including some really good stuff against Louisville. And I think, again, if Kentucky's going to do this, they're going to have to beat Michigan State a little bit at their own game. I think they still have the personnel to do that without Lowe and JQ. In fact, I would almost argue that Aberdeen is a better defensive ad here against somebody like Fears or some of those big Michigan State wings. So I think that the personnel's there. The X's and O's are there. This is a really, really good Michigan State team that will make this ugly. But Kentucky gets over 75 here. I would be shocked if they didn't. And does Michigan State get past that as well? I think we're probably sitting somewhere around there, something like a 78-74 type game. It's going to be close, but I do like where Kentucky's at personnel-wise against this team.
And here's something Lance was maybe a little bit too humble to say. That 66.2% from 2 is number 1 in the entirety of the nation.
Has to be.
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah.
64 teams with the worst 2-point percentage because Kentucky is leading the charge. Now, we talked about it earlier. We don't expect to see Darryn Peterson tonight. That's going to be a big bummer. How can, as Derek Johnson asked earlier, can the rest of this cast step up to the challenge against Duke? Can Flory Bidunga be a dude, or is Patrick Gangba, Derek Brown, are they going to have their way against him? We'll find all that out and more tonight. Coming up in just a second. After getting the CFP reveal, we just got to get football in the middle of basketball. We'll finally move to the nightcap where the number 5 Duke Blue Devils, I think I called it K's Crew earlier today, even though he's not the leader anymore. You better believe Crew starts with a K in that sense.
I think he's still behind the shadows. We don't know that. We don't know that. Yeah.
Playing number 24 Kansas, Rock Chalk. 9 p.m. Eastern, unless the CFP reveal decides they want to talk forever. Duke, as we said, started as a 7.5-point favorite. That's now, as we record, at 10.5, boys. And that's going to be crazy. We've moved on YouTube. JJ Jackson and Derek Johnson up to the top row as they battle it out. The jury's down below us, Lance Dawe and Matt Sheehan. They want to be convinced of why they should pick your team. We need the closing argument.
Because right now I don't want to pick either of them. I mean, can I just abstain? Can I do that?
I like that, actually. Yeah, I'll do the same. Actually, I'll leave the show right now.
I will strike you from this show, boys, and you will never be invited back. That's what will happen to you. You will be cast into the pits of despair. Okay. So we're talking Duke. We're talking Kansas. JJ, I want to start with you. Biggest storyline to watch for from the Duke standpoint in this game?
I mean, it's an easy answer so far this season, but I think you got to go in the Cameron Boozer direction. Just some of the numbers that he's been putting up through 4 games so far are truly insane. And yes, this is after Cooper Flagg played for Duke for a season and went on to become the number 1 overall pick. Cooper Flagg last season led Duke in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. And so far through 4 games, Cameron Boozer is doing the exact same thing, and it's really not even close. It's really not even close with what he's been able to do so far this season for Duke. So I'm curious to see if that level of dominance continues. This is a guy who, in an exhibition against a ranked team in Tennessee, yes, Isaac, I know Duke hasn't played the ranked team yet, but they did get an exhibition win on the road, and he went off for 24 points and 23 rebounds, right? So this guy is a walking highlight reel. He dominates the game, and it's so fun to watch. I think that's the number 1 storyline that everyone will want to see with the Duke team.
Oh, yeah, JJ, you're spot on. What I said was just a technicality. That win at Tennessee, I know it's an exhibition. That was stinking impressive. By the way, guys, here's another trivia for you. JJ mentioned last year, Cooper Flagg led Duke in all 5 of those categories. One other player in the nation in Division I did that. Who was it? He's still in college, but at a different school.
Oh, Yaxel Lendenberg.
I
was about to say, is it Yaxel?
Wow.
Last year
done.
at UAB. Now he's playing for Michigan, Matt Sheehan's arch rival. Great stuff, Derek Johnson.
Screw that guy. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope that's the only thing Derek Johnson gets right. You know,
Hey.
Whatever said here about the game.
Hang on. But I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to pick Duke to win this game.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
You just jinxed yourself, JJ.
Yeah, you might have just
I wanted to, make things interesting. That's what I was going for here.
The jury is intrigued.
The jury is intrigued. Oh, man, it's getting spicy. Derek, by virtue of getting the trivia question right, you now get to answer the question. What, in your mind, if there's, we've talked Darryn Peterson, is there something else outside of that to you is going to be the biggest storyline for the guys who are playing in this game?
Yeah, it does sting. I mean, Peterson is still the one, and it stinks because we don't get that Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, right? Instead, we kind of get, I brought up the 2016 game in New York. If you remember, it was actually Duke. It was the other side. Jason Tatum did not go in that game for Duke, and so it almost feels like a reverse. But if you remember from that game, Duke nearly won the game. It took a Frank Mason game-winning shot at the end to win by 2. And I almost think, like, again, you don't want to ever go into a game, especially when it's a couple blue bloods, and be like, oh, if we lose, that's fine. There's no moral victories for Kansas or Duke. There's just not. But there is a certain level of, I think Kansas fans would be able to respect, like, if they had a 2-point loss to Duke, I think they would actually feel pretty good about where the team is at. And I think one of the big ways that would have to happen, it's the storyline for me of 2 big basketball for Kansas. This is a team that really only has 3 big men. They've got another wing who can play the 4. They've got a couple guys who can play there. But Bryson Tiller started for the first time against Princeton. And I would imagine that was kind of in lead up for this game to try to match Duke's size a little bit more. And I want to see what Bryson Tiller can do against Cam Boozer. That's obviously an advantage for Duke, but just how big of an advantage? How much can he close the gap for Kansas in this one? And then can both Tiller and Flory Badunga avoid foul trouble? Because if they get in foul trouble, I mean, you're on Paul Mbia, who is like a 7'9" wingspan behind him, but he's a very raw player. And then outside of that, you don't have another big man on the roster. So I think that's going to be interesting to me. We saw Kansas struggle with North Carolina's size. How improved is that about whatever 2 weeks later, a week and a half later, versus is that something that now that Tiller's starting to get in the swing of things a little more? Flory had his best game against Princeton. Can the front line of Kansas kind of hold up? Because if you don't have Darryn Peterson and your front line doesn't hold up too, that's a bad combo.
And Derek, to your great point, North Carolina 6th in the nation in terms of average height. Duke one better at 5th. So that problem rears its ugly head again tonight for the Jayhawks. JJ, let's swing back to you. The player most important for Duke in this game is whom? And the Blue Devils win if fill in the blank.
I'm excited. I mean, there are so many different directions I could go here in terms of players that I'm excited to watch in this matchup for Duke, with all of them playing under the lights for the first time this season in a big scenario like this. Isaiah Evans, Showtime Slim, has the makings of a big game player. It's been really fun to watch him go off and do those sort of things. Dame Sarr and Nick Kamenya, I'm excited for the college basketball world to get to know them a little bit more. And Caleb Foster certainly has had an up and down career so far. He's been playing much better as of late for Duke. but I'm going to go with Cam's twin brother. I'm going to go with Caden Boozer.
I like it.
I love watching this dude play basketball, and it's almost unfair that his twin is Cam Boozer because he's overshadowed quite literally in size by his twin and Cam. The ability for him to just push tempo and how quickly this guy gets up the floor. It's one of the reasons why Duke has scored so many points early in the season, and he's getting after it on the defensive end at 6'4", 6'5". Like, Caden Boozer is the real deal, and I think he's going to be incredibly important to what Duke wants to do throughout the course of the season. And then in terms of Duke winning this game, I hate to put it so simply, but I think on the defensive end, if Duke continues to play with the effort and intensity that they've already displayed this season, Isaac, you just mentioned, last year, Duke was the tallest team in America. Shame on the Blue Devils for saying farewell to 7'2", come on, Malawach, to not be number one anymore and just fall down a couple of spots there in the top 5. Their length makes it so difficult for opposing teams to go up and score against them. And I think if they continue to do that, once again, they'll be fine in a game like this.
JJ, when you said I hate to put it simply, I really hoped you were going to say the way they win this game is if they score more points than Kansas. I was really hoping that's where you would go with that.
We hear the Locked On Podcast Network give you the hardest hitting analysis.
That's right. Hashtag analysis. I'm here for it. Derek Johnson, same for you, my man. Most important Jayhawk tonight, and Kansas wins if.
Yeah, so I mean, I brought up Tiller, but I think it's his running mate in the front court too, Flory Badunga. I mean, we might even see two big basketball where Flory's at the 4 and Mbia's at the 5. And Kansas isn't the tallest team. I mean, and Flory's like 6'8". Tiller is like 6'9", 6'10", but they have the wingspan. Tiller's got like a 7'2" wingspan. Flory's like a 7'2" wingspan, and Mbia's 7'9". And so can that help you a little bit against Duke's overwhelming size? But when you look at Flory coming off a 25-10 game against Princeton, we saw a little bit of everything. We saw some of the offense. We saw him moving off the dribble. We saw him attacking the basket from the 3-point line off the dribble. There was just a lot more to his game, but he's been really inconsistent this year. He struggled against North Carolina. He struggled in their exhibition game against a D2 school, but he was good in some of the other matchups. So it's been very up and down for kind of a young, raw player. There's no way Kansas can win this game without Flory going off. And without Peterson, they don't have a lot of other logical scoring options on this team. It was kind of built to be a bunch of role players around Peterson, who the identity needs to be on the defensive end. I do think the lower scoring this is, the better that is for Kansas. But I think Flory is going to have to score 20 or more points. So he's going to have to stay out of foul trouble. That's going to be easier said than done. And he's going to have a big-time game kind of all the way around. I think there's no way Kansas can win this one because he's going to be somebody they're going to throw the ball to in the half court without Peterson a lot, and he's going to take a lot of shot of attempts. And I think beyond that, for KU, beyond trying to find something there, I think the seniors need to, outplay the freshmen, so to speak. Like, you look at Melvin Council at the point guard spot, who's a good defender, and he's fast himself against Caden Boozer. You look at Trey White potentially on Dame Sarr with all the drama there of the former potentially, behind closed doors Kansas commit, then going to Duke. Like, they need to win their matchups as the experienced players. And then I look at the defensive side of the ball. So far this season, Duke is shooting 76.5% at the rim. They are also shooting 50%. They're 17 of 34 on corner threes. However, they are just 2 of 9 in the mid-range. They're just 5 of 25 in the floater range. They're 32% above the break from 3. So if you can at least limit, I know it's easier said than done just from a standpoint of like all their size, but if you can take away the corner threes and at the rim to a little bit less than they're used to, they're only shooting 29% in those other zones combined. If you can find a way to do that, if you can find a way to wall off those zones, maybe you can make it kind of a slugfest. Maybe you can make it a defensive game, an ugly game, and pray that Duke doesn't go off from 3, and you can find your way to an upset or at least cover the spread.
All right, we will look at that in just a second. No one is going to know the answer to this trivia question, but does anyone know who has replaced Duke as the number 1 tallest team in the nation, according to KenPom? It's not a high major team, so you probably don't know it.
I know the answer to this question already because I looked at it earlier, but I'll let everybody else take a shot at it. It's random.
I have no idea. I'm very intrigued, but no idea.
Okay. I don't know if this is helpful or not. The guy that was their coach last year left, is now at VCU, and they just played NC State very tough on Monday night. Great game there. Does that help anybody get it?
No, my guess was St. Mary's. I was going to go with they just got more international guys that are now 8 feet tall instead of 7 feet tall. So that's
incorrect,
shoot.
Matt Sheehan.
Yeah.
Lance Dawe, hit us with the answer.
I believe it's Bryant.
It is the Bryant Bulldogs. Well done, sir. Very good.
We played them last year. What the heck? Oh my God! Oh man, I feel like
Wow.
a fool now. Oh shit.
So random. Shout out
God.
to Brian.
Very random.
I'm
USC's
sorry.
number 2, I think.
Yes, Matt Sheehan does hate you. I'm sorry. You're going to have to call him and take that up.
Wait,
All right,
which one do I
Matt
hate?
Sheehan.
Hold on, I'm losing track now. There's just so much going on.
Matt Sheehan, I need your prediction for this game. You as the jury,
Yeah.
you and Lance, were you convinced more by JJ or Derek?
It's the worst answer to give because, I'm going to go with Duke winning the game, but I'm also going to give some love to Kansas because I do think it will be closer than this 10-point spread. Give me the Devils a smooth 80 and then Kansas 75 here. That's what I'm going to go with.
I love it. Lance Dawe.
Yeah, I don't want to answer this question. You want to just go ahead and talk about the North Carolina-Kentucky game later on in December, Isaac? You want to just go ahead and transition to that?
No, I don't. I need to know who's going to win this one.
Okay, fine. Well, I think
good
this
try.
game, without Peterson, I think it probably could get ugly. I really do like what Kansas has on defense, just in terms of numbers-wise, what they've been doing so far this season. I think that's probably what keeps this game close. I will say that Duke ends up winning this game 80-75, somewhere around there. I'll say close to where Matt is, probably a 5, 6, 7. Gosh,
Okay.
win here.
Oh, you're part of the youth. Wow, look at you.
Hey, thank you for
You-
referencing KU commit Talon Kinney. Thank you
Oh
for
my gosh.
that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He initiated that, right?
Yeah, him and
Good
but
grief. Okay,
but
so
yeah,
both
I'll-
members of the jury are Duke straight up, but Kansas to cover the spread. JJ
Yeah.
Jackson, where are you at?
Definitely in the same boat as those guys. I like my guys. I like Duke to win this basketball game. I do think there have been some offensive struggles, as Derek mentioned a little bit ago with Duke so far. Some of the shooting hasn't been the best above the break, as he was pointing out, and that sort of thing. I don't know that it gets that high scoring. I'm giving a lot of respect to the way John Shire's been coaching defense over the last couple of years. I could see more of a low-scoring game for both of these teams, but Duke ultimately able to make more plays down the stretch.
Derek Johnson, take us home.
Yeah, I think that Texas game is kind of a similar score that I'm looking at. It was 75-60 there.
Yeah.
I could see this being, 74-62. I could see Kansas keeping it close to like the under 12, under 8, and then I could see Duke maybe hitting a couple threes, and Kansas doesn't have the firepower right now to kind of match that. So I think I actually would be taking Duke to cover in this one and to win the game. But I think the good news, and Lance will appreciate this, somebody told me that the Tyron Stokes was going to pick the school that lost by the most points in the Champions Classic.
Well, can I change my pick now? Can I
That's well played, Derek Johnson. I appreciate you. Hey, one last word. We've been going for a while. Big thanks to everyone who's with us, but it's a roundtable. We're having a blast. I asked these guys to think of like just a big moment that sticks in your mind from the first 14 years of this event. I've got one. I'll start just to give these guys a second. Actually, I shouldn't start in case I'm going to steal somebody else's. I'd hate to do that. I came up with a couple just in case. JJ Jackson, I know you're champing at the bit to get this going. And yes, it is champing for all you chompers out there. That's the correct phrase. JJ Jackson, give me a memory.
Well, I want the world to remember that even a global pandemic couldn't stop this event from taking place, that this event did play out in 2020. Duke hosted Michigan State. Michigan State came into Cameron Indoor and was able to knock off Duke in the Champions Classic. Kentucky and Kansas that year decided we don't want to play on someone's campus. We'll just meet halfway and they'll play in Indianapolis. But the fact that a pandemic couldn't even stop this. But in terms of a favorite memory that I've got in this one, Isaac, the very first game of the season, 2018-2019, Duke versus Kentucky, the very first game of Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett's career for Duke. Duke scored 118 points to open up the year. Wow, that was an all-star game that we watched play out that night, and I have very, very fond memories of that one.
See, this is why I didn't go first, because that was mine. Literally, how about this, guys? In the 14-year history of this event, that is the only time a team has hit triple digits in the event. Crazy stuff. That was Zion's coming out party. As everyone, or maybe not everyone remembers, both RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish were ranked ahead of Zion Williamson in the recruiting rankings. And that was the coming out party where it was like, oh, there's your national player of the year. And we all knew it that night and nothing ever fell off. Derek Johnson, what you got, my man?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I know which one would not be the answer. It was the time against Duke where KU had like 30 turnovers and lost, and then ended up actually being like the best team in the country. But no, I think it is the 2016 edition against Duke. You get a back and forth game. You get Frank Mason, who ends up winning National Player of the Year. That kickstarted his National Player of the Year when he hits the game winner at the end on kind of the mid-range shot. That was certainly my favorite, but there's certainly been a lot of fun ones, to say the least. I think of DeJuan Harris just kind of randomly going off in recent. Grady Dick having a big game against Duke recently. But yeah, the 2016 one is certainly special.
Sheehan, what about you, brother?
Rolling back the clock, 2013. Kentucky, Michigan State 1-2, and Michigan State pulled it out in the very end. And it was Gary Harris, it was Keith Appley, and Adrian Payne doing it for Michigan State. But I had to just go back and look at the box score just to remember who was really on that Kentucky team. And my God, what a squad for the Cats! Julius Randle, Willie Cauley-Stein, the Harrison twins, James Young lit it up in that game. Poitras, he was doing work off the bench. That was an electric game to be at. So, yes, I have bias. It was my senior year back in my heyday of school. Went down with the IS-Zone. We were hanging on to the banners, basically. That's how high up they had us sitting at the United Center. But, oh, my goodness gracious, that'll be a night to somehow, against all odds with the amount of beer I drank that night, a night I will never forget. I remember it very fondly still.
I love it. Lance Dawe, what about you, brother?
I would say I'll give you a memory from a game against all three of these opponents here for Kentucky. I'll say the year after that Sheehan's talking about, we beat Kansas. I believe it was by 32. Just an absolute beat down. That squad went 38.
That was the Bill Self vodka game. He sipped the water and goes, "I wish this was vodka."
I think in 2019, when Maxey went off for 26 against Michigan State, hit that big three late. That's been circulating around Twitter as of late. And then honestly, my favorite memory, because it kind of coincided with me doing this show and having a heart attack nearly after the game on my live stream, I would say that win against that talented Duke squad last year, where Cooper Flagg turns it over at the end, Kentucky finds a way in the second half after being down so much. That was probably my favorite memory, is that insane comeback. But yeah, a lot of good memories against these squads. Unfortunately, still a losing record in this class.
The other one that I wanted to say, in addition to that Zion one, was the 1 year that we got the teams ranked number 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the nation. Number 4, and the teams that were lower ranked beat the teams that were higher ranked. Number 4, Duke beat Kansas 68-66. Number 2, Kentucky beat Michigan State, as Lance just mentioned, 69-62. This was in MSG, and none of the 4 schools hit 70 points, man. I love it. Just great kind of old school basketball, tough. Man, just really, really good stuff. I love this event. I'm so excited for it in Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. I want to thank all 4 of you for joining us. I want to thank all of you fans out there of all like college basketball and of these 4 schools. If you don't already, go check out Mr. JJ Jackson on Locked On Blue Devils, Derek Johnson on Locked On Jayhawks, Matt Sheehan on Locked On Spartans, and of course, Lance Dawe on Locked On Kentucky. I don't know why Arizona got Locked On Wildcats. I feel like that probably should have been Kentucky, but whatever. We'll talk about that another day. For all of you guys, I'm Isaac Schade. Subscribe to the shows, join the Locked On College Basketball Discord. Thanks to all the everydayers who are here with us. As we always say on our show, apologies to the Lawyer family. Cheers to the Wild Popes. Shouts to the McBruins. And until tomorrow, when Andy Patton's going to break these games down. Peace.